Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We have a little bit of a special video for you today. Recently, Chrono24 has been collecting user stories about personal connections they have to Rolex watches. Our guest today is Eric, coming from Austin, Texas. He inherited his grandfather's watch, and as you know, watches not only tell the time, they tell a story, they say a little bit about who we are, where we come from, and that's certainly true with Eric today. Eric, how you doing? Thanks for coming on.
What's up, Thomas? Thanks for having me.
Cool. So Eric, let's start by just introducing yourself a little bit, saying where you live, what you do now, and how you got into watches in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Austin, Texas, and in the mornings I day trade. After that, I'm at my parents' restaurant helping them out. They came here from Taiwan. They've been running the restaurant for 30-something years. And so during this time, I just helped them out at night and during the day sometimes. When I got into watches, it was actually a couple of years ago. I was never really into watches. It was more kind of like growing up, kind of wanting to have more accessories on me. Watches kind of was just like a thing that a lot of guys wear. It was more like a gentleman wear. Like if you had a nice watch, it was like, okay, you must have been pretty high at what you do in business, or just a love for watches. And that's what kind of sparked my interest.
Very cool. And to start, just to give our viewers a little bit of a rundown, can you tell us about how this watch came into your life?
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned before, my parents own a restaurant. So growing up, we actually, my brother and I have a younger brother, we were at the restaurant all the time. After school, we got dropped off at the restaurant. We're there like all day. Or after that, it was at my grandparents' house. And so the thing was, that's how basically my brother and I were so close to my grandparents, just because my parents were literally at the restaurant all day and there's nowhere else for us to go. So we just had to go to our grandparents' house. So me and my grandpa developed a really close connection. And also because I'm the first grandson, there's 4 of them, my mom's the oldest. And so I guess there's a better special connection, I would want to say. Not that he doesn't care about his other ones, but as being a first, it's just kind of like, dang, like, my daughter has the first son. And so growing up, my grandpa would always spoil me. Just everything I knew was just like my grandpa. My parents were good parents. It's just like they never had time to take care of us. After work, they would come pick us up at my grandparents' house, but we would be asleep already. So growing up, I don't remember my parents as much like in my life. It was just, my grandpa would take me or my grandma would take me. And so that was kind of like my childhood. But the thing was, I didn't know he had this watch. So fast forward to maybe 2 years ago, one of my best friends, John, he was the first person on my friend group to get married. And I was like, okay, man, like I have to come dressed to impress. Like, especially in my friend group, I gotta let them know like, hey, he rolls with us, And so I was looking for a lot of stuff. I have some pretty nice suits, but the only thing I was missing was a watch. And I didn't really know anything about watches at that time. So I was kind of looking on the internet, and that's how I found Chrono24. I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. Because before I used StockX to look at shoes and other things like that. And so, this is kind of like that. And you could kind of like add it to your list. Like I mentioned before, I day trade, so it's kind of cool. You can see like the graph. You have a like watch list. You can add, your favorite watches to, and kind of see where they move from there. So I would like add a bunch of things to my notepad. Like I just heart everything, and then just kind of go through that. And so during this time, I was like 28, my grandpa actually got sick. He had a stroke, so he couldn't talk anymore, and it kind of ruined his mobility too. So he was like in a wheelchair, and so I was pretty devastated for sure. And at that time, I was taking care of him. I did everything for him. I showered him, brushed his teeth, I fed him, I took him to the doctor's office and everything, just kind of repaying what he did to me when I was younger. And so, me and him still had that connection. And then just through, over time, just it got worse and worse. And, but at the same time, I was looking for the watches on the side. And one day we were at lunch, and my grandpa was like sitting on his couch, and my grandma was like, hey, I know you're like looking into watches. My grandpa actually has this watch that we want to give you, and it happened to be the Rolex Oyster. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy, especially for like a first watch. And so he handed it down to me, and I was like, this is perfect. I think I'm gonna wear this to the wedding. And so I wore it to the wedding, and it was an amazing feeling. I had it on. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, dude, nice watch. I'm like, yo, thanks. It was funny. I didn't even know how to use the watch. I never had a watch before, so it was like, I was like on YouTube, like how to wind a watch. So I'm here like doing this, and so it was cool. It was very, very cool. And so ever since then, I have it now. My grandpa actually passed away last year, but now when I wear the watch, it's just kind of like, dang, like he's still with me. All the memories that we had growing up to when he was sick, and it's just it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, it's a really personal connection to have. Not only, the memory of your grandfather in there, and it really brings back, all the time that you spent with him. So it's a nice memento, even though he's gone now, you have, something that was a big part of his life that's now a big part of your life.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, it wasn't me just like, okay, like I'm doing this, so I want something in return. I didn't even know he had this watch. It was actually, he got this watch from his kids. So there's 4 of them. They bought it for him for his 60th birthday. And so it was kind of like a special gift that's like passed down to me. And then I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. It's like a new tradition, maybe I can pass this down to, my kids, and, we can go from there.
Yeah. How did your siblings feel about you getting this watch and not them?
Yeah, right. So when I got the watch, my first thing was, because me and my brother are really close. When I got the watch, I hit my brother up first. I was like, hey, give me your wrist size. We'll measure it so we can both kind of like fit it, because I have really skinny wrists, and so I can't fit many watches. And so I was like, hey, send me your measurement. And my brother's like, hey, no, you're all good, because he was in New York when all this happened. So it's not like he didn't take care of him. He was in New York working, and so he didn't have a chance to be in Texas. So I was with my grandpa all the time. And so he was like, hey man, no, you're good. Like the watch is yours. I think you deserve it. I think the family talked through it and was just like, hey, I think that whoever deserves this watch should be the person who took care of grandpa like the most. And so it was kind of given like that. But of course, I'm like, I told my brother, like, hey, if you ever want to use it, whatever, by all means, just take it, man. Like, I think it's both of ours. Like, we did our fair share.
Yeah. So how does the watch fit into your life now? I mean, do you wear it often? Is it more of a special occasion thing? You mentioned the wedding, of course, but how does it kind of, is it a day-to-day thing or?
Yeah, so definitely for that type of watch, I don't want to do day-to-day just because it's so special and it's just so nice. I'm scared to like ruin it and whatnot. Like, even my grandpa, he barely wore it too, so that restaurant was his, and then they passed it down to my mom. And so being at the restaurant in the back is just kind of dirty and just like food everywhere and smoky, and then you get stuff on your watch. And so he barely wore it. I think he only wore it maybe less than 10 times, I want to say. And so for me, when I got it, I'm just like, okay, cool. So when I'm gonna go out, I'm not gonna wear this. It has to be special occasion, like weddings. I wore it to my friend John's wedding, and I actually wore it another time for my cousin Z's wedding. And I think, going forward, it's just going to be like a wedding or a special occasion, or maybe for sure business. Like if I'm going to go see someone to make a deal or something like really special, I'm definitely whipping it out. So. And
then any, like when you do wear it, I mean, how do you feel? What kind of reactions do you get? What's the thought process that goes through when you have that solid gold Rolex on your wrist? Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. When I have it on, I it feels good. I'm just like, dang, like this is so nice. Because I didn't know how much watches cost, right? Like I hear about Rolex and that before. I'm like, okay, maybe it's like a few thousand and whatnot. But then when I'm on Chrono 24, I was like, wait, how much does this cost? It costs like more than my car. I was like, dang, I don't know watches get that much. And so when I have it on, I'm just like, dang, like when I walk in, like, boost my confidence up. I'm walking shoulders high, walking everywhere, just talking like real confident all of a sudden, and just people are like, oh my, nice watch, man. And then that's when I'm like, boom, hey, actually, it's my grandpa's story, and it kind of connects. Some of them like, oh, like my grandpa or my family member gave this to me, or I got that. And next thing you know, a connection's built. And then maybe, we can connect with that guy in the future and start networking. So it's just something really powerful of like a watch that I never knew could ever happen.
Yeah, it's such a personal thing. And, a lot of people, especially when they see a gold Rolex, might think it's just a status thing, which you certainly do get that, little extra swagger when you do it. But it's nice that you have so many layers beneath that when you strap it on your wrist.
No, exactly. I think you make a very good point. Like before, right? I didn't know into watch. When I see, I'm like, oh man, that guy's super rich. like he has money, like he's super well off, he's super high in his company, yada yada yada. But then, you know, actually like passing the piece down and then now building a story. Now when I see someone else's watch, I'm like, oh hey man, nice watch. And then he'll tell me a story, and it's all a story behind it of how they got it. It's like, oh well, yeah, they're rich, but it's like they maybe got a big promotion in that job to get that watch, or it was like, oh, it was a gift to someone special, and it just it's awesome. Like I love it. Now when I go out, first thing I do when I walk out, I look at people's watches. That's all I do now. That's all I do.
Yeah, you can't turn that off, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's nuts. Before I used to look at people's shoes. I'm like, oh man, nice shoes. And now I'm looking like, hey man, nice watch.
Eric, do you have the watch on you now?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, let's take a look.
There it is.
There we go. Nothing wrong with a gold Rolex, huh? And I see some diamond indices on there. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, so when they bought the watch, it was actually just a watch. And then, like I mentioned, it was my grandpa's 60th birthday. And so they wanted to make it like an extra special. So they decided to just get diamonds put around like the numbers afterwards. So I think maybe a year or two later, it's when they added like the diamonds to it, so.
Yeah, and it looks like, as far as I can tell, that is an Oyster Perpetual date. So that's, you know, Rolex's most popular family of watches. There's obviously, you know, all their steel sports stuff really spawned from that Oyster Perpetual family. It's known for its waterproofness, and so they sort of split up that technology between more of a dressy route like you have, and more of a stainless steel sport route, which the market really loves today and which you see most often. You got a little Jubilee bracelet on there, all solid gold there. Really, really good condition. I think you said, yeah, you only wore this a handful of times. And then, yeah, 36 millimeters, you have really good size for that. So not too flashy on the wrist, even with everything on there. How does it feel when you, like, is it heavy? What does it feel like when you have it on?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a little heavy, but I think it definitely gives off like the presence, and it feels good because it's like it fits right underneath the cuff. And I only wear it with so far I've only wear it with like a suit, and so it's just like I had to get this fit my wrist. Like they had to like adjust it like so many times because my grandpa's wrist was like it was down to like here. And so I had to get it adjusted. So, but yeah, normally when I have it, it's just like through a cuff, so you can barely kind of see it. So it kind of piques someone's interest, like they want to know more. Like I'm not like having it out like this or whatnot. And so it's just like hidden perfectly. Or if I wore like a nice shirt, I just have it on like here. So. And
then when it does come out, it's bam, gold Rolly right there.
Yeah. So it's perfect.
And it's funny because, you know, in the watch industry, you'll hear a lot about two-tone stuff and solid gold as like a grandpa watch, which is funny because it literally is your grandfather's watch in this case. And even though people kind of use that to poke fun at, you know, tastes that are not in style at this very second, it's funny that you'd be like, yeah, that is my grandpa's watch, and tell the whole story about, you know, his whole life journey with the watch.
Yeah, no, correct. Yeah, every time I see like one of these oysters that's gold, and you mentioned two-tone, I'm just like, oh, it's probably someone old, some old business guy. And so yeah, now I have one, so it's pretty sick.
There we go. So Eric, you mentioned you were getting into watches, which is how this watch came into your life in the first place. Can you tell us a little bit about what your hunting has been outside of this gold Rolex experience?
Yeah, so I actually have one of the pieces that I bought on Chrono 24. It's this Frederick Constant watch right here. And at that time when I got this watch, I was super into like the skeleton case that you can like see all like the movements. Because when I got into watches, I was super into I guess just how they can get such these tiny pieces into these watches. It just like amazes me. And then just like watching them like turn, I thought it was super cool. And so when I was looking at watches, some of the open backs or like the skeleton cases, they're pretty expensive. And so I was just kind of looking for something. And then this one had like, this was I think it was the Heartbeat collection. So it's like open like right there, super sick. Like you can just see the movement. I'm just like, wow. And it's like this is super simple. Like this is the watch, because I knew I had to get another watch because I can't be wearing that watch every day. And so I had to figure out like another watch that's simple, that's not too flashy, but kind of like what I liked at that time was like the skeleton case. And I came across this watch, I was like, boom, I'm gonna take it. And so this one's a 40 millimeter. And so it's a little bigger for sure, but it fits my wrist perfect too. I think 40, 42 millimeters is just about right for me. I do have a bunch of stuff in my notepad though, like Rolex Explorer, the Yachtmaster. I'm definitely eyeing the Omega Seamaster 300 meter one for sure, because it kind of gives off a sporty look. I'm really into sporty watches, but a lot of sporty watches, they're like 44 millimeters. It's huge. And so I'm looking for anything 40 to 42. And I really like rubber straps. And that one has a rubber strap. So like, even though there's only 4 watches on there, but like of that one watch, I have like 6 of them all like there, looking at the price, kind of seeing when it's going to go down, or someone sold it, I just unhearted it and whatnot. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like your day trader approach to all this as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of coming in.
Yeah. This is how I view things now. So it's very cool.
So Eric, it's funny that you mentioned your notepad and all the watches that you're lining up there that you might get in the future. We're actually doing a giveaway right now at Chrono 24. Have you heard about this or participated in this yet?
No, I have not.
So we shot a video recently where it was our 5 favorite watches at 5 different price points. I and then my colleague Pascal in Germany. The full link to that video is down in the description below, and you can find out the information there. But what you need to know is that you can win $10,000 towards the purchase of your next watch. So I know you're kind of got your head set on the Omega Seamaster 300, but we're getting some Rolex budget there. So think about maybe adding another one to the family if you're interested.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely entering that one.
Yeah, get another watch, win another time. You know, lightning strikes twice.
Hey, yeah. Why not?
Yeah, and then you double up on your Rolexes there. You'd be a real hit at the weddings at that time.
For sure. Hey, I'm signing up. Anything with Chrono 24, man, I got y'all.
There we go. Yeah. So for guys watching at home, check the link below. We'll link out to our other video where we have the full contest rules you can enter. And then once we hit 100,000 subscribers, you can find out if you won.
All right, I'm going to do it right now.
Cool. Well, Eric, it was great having you on today. Hearing your story, reminding us why we chose you out of all the fantastic stories that we had. As much as watch guys get caught up in new releases or what the market is doing or what prices are going up now, it's good to have a reminder of the personal connection that a lot of people have to watches like this through their family, through their own personal history. So thanks again for coming on. And for you guys at home, if you have a personal watch story, whether it's a Rolex or not, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to read these. And Eric, thanks again for coming on today. We really loved having you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Thank you for picking my story. I know, I'm sure there was tons of people who submitted their stories of how they got, a watch. I'm just grateful that you guys picked my story.
There we go. Eric's story will be in our Chrono 24 magazine. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel for more videos coming up, and enjoy your watches.